Hello everybody, good morning and welcome to the United Stand. This is your latest Manchester United news and excited to be back actually. Missed you all yesterday. Some fantastic content on the show. But today, this morning, we're going to be talking about player unrest. We're going to be talking about players that are not happy with the standard of coaching at Manchester United and also the continued stance at Manchester United around Solskjaer and his coaches. And I just want to say, we still do get people who don't understand the morning show is about the news. This is from The Athletic, which is a new news outlet, and it's from the Manchester Evening News, which is a news outlet. So before people start going, Goldbridge making up lies, we've been doing it for 5 years. It's a news show. We're talking about what's in the news. So that I almost need like an idiot warning at the start of the show because there are a few out there. Anyway, let's move. Let's move. So let's start off with this. And what I would say first of all is fair play for this coming out in the mainstream media this morning because we've spoken about it on this show for probably about 12 months. It's well known in and around the club and in and around, a lot of fans will know this as well. The players are not happy with the coaching. I haven't been happy with the coaching for a very long time. They're very happy with Ollie. They're very happy with the coach's personality. They like them. They want them to do well. And it even sources that in the Athletic article. But there is a lot of discussion within that club amongst players that the coaching standard isn't of the standard required. And it's all about hope rather than belief. So the fact that this is coming out is a good thing. I think it's a good thing that Solskjaer's under pressure. I said that before. I think it's a good thing that people like Gary Neville have spoken about the poor standard of football at Manchester United because I think it's been established by, certainly by the fans for well over a year that the football's not been good enough. And it's been known for a long time that the coaching's not good enough. But now we're starting to get it out there in the mainstream media. And I think this can only be a good thing because it'll either lead to a change or it will lead to a change, and it'll either be a removal of that coaching setup, or that coaching setup is going to have the kick up the backside it should have had over the summer. Look at the final that we lost against Villarreal. We were awful in that game. Nothing's changed. There was a big list of things that needed to change, and nothing has changed in the way that we're playing football. So I applaud this has come out because it's well known anyway. So let me just read you some of the stuff. This is from The Athletic this morning. They're basically saying that several senior players are not happy with the standard of coaching at Manchester United and feel that there is a need for coaches with a greater elite experience. Carrick and McKenna are the main coaches, which we know. Ollie doesn't take training and neither does Phelan. Michael Carrick's plus points are that he can anticipate problems and put an arm around a player if they need it. And that McKenna is a very strict school-style sort of coach who has actually got the potential to be a top six coach for a top six club, which confuses me because if Ollie's not doing the coaching and Phelan's not doing the coaching and McKenna's doing the coaching and he's got the potential to be the coach of a top six club, are we not a top six club? I presume they're talking about him being a manager of a top six club. Is he not effectively that anyway if he's leading the coaching? So those sort of statements almost like, yeah, he's shit at what he's doing, but he's got the potential to do what he's doing. Because, I don't understand what that's all about. And as for Carrick, well, if he's another one who puts his arm around everybody, that means 75% of our management team, Ollie, Carrick and Phelan, would probably be better off on a bloody, on a well-being course. We're Manchester United. And look, consistently we do keep hearing that the players want Ollie to do well, they want the coaches to do well, he's well liked. But I would say about that as well, what's this all about? What is this all about? It just seems to me that there is a standard at Manchester United that has now seems to have disappeared behind this wanting people to do well who clearly aren't that good. I mean, you read that article and there's a lot about it, and we're also going to be talking about Conte and Zidane on a Manchester Evening News article that's very good this morning as well. So, get your comments in, get involved in the show as well. Put your arm around us at FC Sicilish. It feels to me, and I think many of you will have heard this on the grapevine as well, because I certainly have. It feels to me like the Man United coaches are very well liked by the players they pick, and they want them to do well. But it feels like the players are sort of like, yeah, we love Ollie, we love Carrick, we love Phelan, everybody's really happy, we have a right good laugh and we all get on. But then privately they're going, I like them, but they're not actually very good. And I don't know whether you've ever worked in a job before, but you ever seen The Office with David Brent or, Michael in the American Office, right? I think that's a bit like what what it's like. You go to work, your boss is a bit of a prat. He's a nice guy. He's a bit of a prat though. And what I mean by prat, and I don't mean it in an offensive way. I mean he likes to have a laugh. Wants to be one of the lads, one of the group. And I'm saying lads because we're talking about male football here, but wants to be part of the group. And you think it's your dream job, but actually nobody really respects them. They like them. They want to stick up for them. They want them to do well, but they don't really. What I'm trying to say is that you think about any job you've had, or teachers or anything like that. Do you want the boss that's going to be the boss that lets you get away with anything because he just wants to be your mate? Or do you want the boss that you respect, that yes can be somebody that you like, but actually somebody that's going to lead you? And it feels to me like everything we're reading at the moment is about the players. The players want Ollie to do well, but ultimately don't think his coaching's good enough. So this is Manchester United. Why are we back in player power FC again? This is where we're going wrong. For me, it's not about losing your temper or getting frustrated about arm round your shoulder FC. It's all wrong at United, and everything that's coming out of United is evidencing that. The players like Ollie and they want him to do well, but the coaching's not good enough. So it tells you that the power's with the players. Well, I'm sorry, do you think Man City are there with a sympathy flag for Pep? Or Liverpool players are doing it for Klopp? Or Chelsea players are doing it for Tuchel? Or do you think they go into work, know who the boss is and know they've got to do what they've got to do? You can't have a club run by players. And it feels to me like United is all about keeping the players happy. And, Phelan's putting his arm around them, Carrick, Ollie, where's the leadership? Where is the leadership? And going back to that article from The Athletic this morning where it says that the players are, they're happy, but they feel that they need more elite coaching within the football club. Well, that's not, that's not a shock. Again, I think it's good that it's coming out in the mainstream media because it's not a shock. If you and the media and ex-players and rival fans are watching United and going, God, they're boring. They're really crap at moving the ball about. How do you think it's like for the players who, have either played for clubs that play good football, like Ronaldo and others, or they go on the international break like Pogba and Varane and they play for a good coach with a good set of players? They're not thick. They're not thick. And most elite footballers, of which we've got quite a few, are not. The money's nice, but they know the money comes because they're an elite footballer. Most of our squad are not going into work thinking, I ain't that bothered. I'm earning a lot of money. I'll go home and play a bit of FIFA. Get on Insta, slide into someone's DMs. They're not. There will be footballers like that. There are footballers like that, but you don't tend to get that many of them at Manchester United or Liverpool or Man City. So these footballers, they're going to earn a lot of money, but they're going to earn a lot of money because they're good footballers. And what do they want out of their short career? They want to win things. And they will know. They will know as well as you do, as well as the media does, as well as ex-players do. They will know that they are not being coached to the level they should be being coached. And the biggest thing is a lot of these players have either been bought in and have been played under better coaches, or they're going off to international duty and they're talking to their mates and they're playing with their mates who are being coached better. So it's not a surprise to me. Obviously things can improve, but where we are right here, right now, because I know you've got to play devil's advocate. There's people who really want Ollie sacked. There's people who are very concerned, and there's people who are, I'm Ollie in no matter what. And ultimately, it's not about any of those three things here. I think as we sit here, right now, whatever the future's going to be, and maybe we're going to go and win the league, and maybe he's going to get sacked, or maybe we're just going to keep finishing fourth like Wenger did for years, and the club will be very happy with that. Whatever the future's going to be, I think you can sit here, right now, and say that, look, the coaching isn't good enough, the football's not good enough, and that falls back onto the coaches. And ultimately, in a month's time, if we play really good football and we're in a title race, and people go, well, I told you so, well, you told us bloody nothing. Because right here, right now is what matters. The past is gone and the future's yet to be written. Right here, right now, can an Ollie Inner sit here and go, the football's really good, I can see exactly what he's trying to do and we're going to win the league? They're hoping for it. And it feels to me like that's what we're all doing. The players are hoping for it. We're all hoping for it. But these Ollie Inners, these Ollie apologists who just are blind to the issues, I hope you're going to be right. But the day you come back and say, I told you so, you'll be a liar. Because tell us now, you tell us right here, right now, what it is, what our style of football is, and what we're going to do this season. Because you don't know. You're pissing in the wind and hoping the wind's blowing behind you and not in your face. That's what you're doing. So, look, he's in control of that job. He's got his coaches. I've said before, I mean, there was some rumour yesterday that we were going to bring Rennie Mullenstein back. Can't see it. We appointed a management team. Solskjaer's control of that football club is not as big as Klopp or Pep. He is not a manager in that sense. He came into the club and they gave him a team. Phelan for experience, Carrick and McKenna to help him out. Ollie is not able to sack Phelan, Carrick or McKenna. He won't do it, and he can't do it because they're part of the team that work with him. And, you know, quite rightly, I think they would feel, well, look, we've shared your success and you should share our failure. But the reality is, as many of you have said before, Solskjaer should have had the leadership skills to bring in better coaches to enhance him as a manager. If I was Solskjaer, you know, you want him to do well, you want to do well, but the reality is he's inexperienced. What has he done? He's brought an assistant coach that was decent 10 years ago that's not really been in the game in Mike Phelan, and he's appointed Carrick and McKenna who are more inexperienced than him. And, you know, you can say Ollie's inexperienced, and I think he is at the highest level, but he has managed in the Premier League with Cardiff. But Carrick is not, and McKenna is not. They're inexperienced people. And the problem is that people do not. Morning, Mark. Is it true that Ollie lied to Donny about playing time? I don't know, Mikael Roach. I've not heard anything about that. I'll come back to that in a minute. The problem is, in life, experience is important. Now, you know, I can think of a few jobs. One of them's a bit X-rated. You know, it's your first day on set. You've been given your dream job. Might not be your dream job, but you're going to be an adult. You're going to be a porn star, right? It's your first day on set. The producer says, right, this is what I want you to do. The three people are in there. Let's not be gender specific. And the newbie goes, don't worry, I've watched loads of videos before. I'm going to go and smash it, quite literally. Now, do you think he's going to do a good job, or she? I don't think they are. This another example, right? Gordon Ramsay needs a new chef at one of his places, right? Somebody knocks on the door and comes in and says, don't worry, Gordon. I've watched lots of YouTube videos. I know exactly what I'm doing. You can imagine what's going to happen. He ain't going to be able to make an omelette. The reality is, experience is very important in many walks of life. You know, it's almost like, I'll be the coach of Manchester United because I've played loads of Football Manager. I've taken Burton Albion from League 2 to the Champions League. Well, it doesn't mean you're not going to be a good coach in the future, but there has to be a level of experience. And it feels to me that, and I'm going to move this into the Manchester Evening News article, experience is very important. It is very important. It can be a disadvantage, you know, because experience, age, you can fall off. You know, I think Mourinho fell off in the Premier League. So, but experience is important. And the reality is we don't have experience. McKenna's not experienced. Carrick's not experienced. And Ollie needs that experience. And what you're now getting is the truth. You're now getting these stories. And the Athletic say, senior sources are saying that senior players within that football club are not happy with the coaching at Manchester United. Now, that's not breaking news, but it might be new news for you because it's like, it's a big line and it does put pressure. But it's not actually rocket science. How can they be, you know, I've heard they're not happy. Many people have heard they're not happy. But the reality is, these are elite sports people being coached by people. And the worst thing is, it's like a supply teacher. You know, remember when you were at school, some of you might still be at school. You know, every now and again we'd get a supply teacher who would come in. Basically, they were like trainees. Sometimes they weren't. You know, they liked being a supply teacher. But sometimes they'd come from uni and they were doing like a segment, right? They'd get absolutely slaughtered. It'd be like chucking a bloody chicken into a fox pen. You know, they just get absolutely slaughtered because, you know, as a kid, you sense weakness. And these supply teachers, they come in, they don't know the dynamics and they don't really know what you've been taught. They come in with their own ideas and people smell that inexperience. They notice it. And the amount of bloody detentions we used to get because the supply teacher would complain about a bad attitude, but it wasn't. They just sensed the weakness. And ultimately, whilst it was a bit of fun for that episode, really you wanted the normal teacher back because they knew what they were doing and you know, you could have a bit of fun, but the boundaries were set. I think this is the problem that United players have at the moment is that, yeah, they like McKenna, yeah, they like Carrick and whoever else is there. But the problem is, you know, going back to the old adult stuff, if you've had red wine and steak, you don't want to go and have. You're not going to be happy with beans on toast. If you know, you know. You know, if you know, you know. And the reality is, most of these United players, look, maybe your Mason Greenwoods, you know, your Shora T-Rays, people like that, they don't know any different. But your Ronaldo's does, you know, your Brunos do, your Varans do, your Pogbas do. These are players that have played for lots of different coaches, and they will smell the weakness a mile off. And that's what's happening here. These lads that we've got coaching, our lads, they ain't of the level that they should be. And I don't know whether that's going to be a problem in the future. It can be a surmountable problem, but it certainly is a problem. There's no doubt Ollie's done a good job. What worries me, however, is if he goes, who comes in to take the reins and be our Klopp or Guardiola, says Simon. Well, I'm going to talk about that next. And of course, look, I think this is good news. I agree with Rajat. I think this is good news. I think it's always good news when the standards of Manchester United are set. You know, I want to see this sort of... We're not doing well. We've got 14 points from 21 and a massive 2 months coming up. We should be demanding more. I want to see this. And also, when you're not performing, you want to know why. Well, look, it clearly is the coaching. You know, I'm all for blaming players, and I have blamed players over the last 8 years. There's been times where the players haven't delivered. There's been times under Ollie when the players haven't delivered. But it's very clear at the moment that the football is abysmal, and that's coaching. Funny how breaking news is news we have talked about to death already on the United Stand. The media is so slow to catch up, says Nick P. And Morning Mark, is there any news on what the players' view is on Donny not being picked? Also, do you think Ollie has forgotten Donny was a Ballon d'Or nominee in 2009? Jake Dobson, I've never really heard anything about that. But remember, footballers are sympathetic, but more, you know, they're selfish. You know, they want to play. You know, you're not going to get McTominay and Fred moaning about Donny not playing, are you? So, you know. And ultimately, you know, they don't pick the team. You know, it was a great quote from Phil Jones, actually, who's been talking about, you know, all the abuse he's had, which, you know, is never acceptable. But ultimately, if you're a footballer and you're not very good, you're going to get criticised. That's what you get paid for. You get the plaudits and you don't. But what he did say, and I liked this, it was a good line from Phil Jones. He said that, you know, ultimately there's all this abuse and everything like that. But, you know, their voice doesn't matter. The only voice that matters is the manager. And he's right. The manager picks the team, not the people who are moaning on social media. Phil Jones is absolutely right. Inadvertently, I think he's just thrown Ollie under the bus, though, because ultimately, you know, Ollie picks the team. Ollie doesn't pick Phil Jones. He doesn't pick, you know, Ollie picks Phil Jones. Ollie picks McFred. The fans might not like it, but Ollie picks the team. And this is what we're on about here. Ultimately, the coaching at the moment reflects on the manager, and the manager is getting things wrong in many people's eyes. He may think he's getting it right, but factually he's not. The points tally, the results, you know, we've been very lucky in a couple of games this year that we've won, but he has the power to change things. He could knock on the door this morning to Ed Woodward and say, look, I think we need to sack Carrick and McKenna and I want to get a couple of good coaches in. Now, if Woodward says no, well, you can leak that out very easily, but that's not going to happen because it's his mates, and we are mates rates FC. And the Manchester Evening News have had a very good article today talking about Zidane and Conte, etc., which I think I'm going to do a show at 2:00 about, because it's a very, very, you know, it's a show in itself. So we'll talk about that at 2:00 about the manager situation at Manchester United. But I do think that, you know, when you look at what's going on, the reality is that this does come back to manager decisions. And I've never understood. I understand the first 6 months. I understand the first 6 months at Manchester United, because Mourinho gets the sack. United are in the middle of the season. They need to salvage something. Let's get an ex-player in from United, in Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and let's give him Carrick and McKenna. Move McKenna up from the youth setup. Carrick was the right-hand man of Mourinho. Bring Phelan back. We get a little management team that can support each other for 6 months until we bring in a proper manager. And the rest is history. That management team creates a song about a bus. We all sing it. And effectively, they're now here 3 years later. The problem is, I think the inexperience has really shone through, because what should have happened is Solskjaer should have spotted this. He should have seen this was going to happen. Instead of living off, it's a bit like Bon Jovi living on a prayer. I think he should have spotted this and gone. But I think they fell into their own trap. You know, he came in, the song about the bus, Ollie's at the wheel, And I think they thought, we're better than we are. We can win the Premier League. Look at what we've done in them first few months. And I think they believed their own hype and what Solskjaer should have done. And we're all geniuses in hindsight. But when it hit that summer, that's when he should have gone, right, I don't really want to keep Phelan and Carrick. I want to bring in a very, really experienced, cutting-edge assistant coach. And I want to bring in a really good coach from the training ground. But what he actually did, and look, many of us would do it. What he actually did is he went, well, they're my mates. They've done a good job with me. They're a part of why I've got the job. I want to reward them. And that's continued. It's Rewards FC. It's Mates Rates FC. And look, the warning signs were there. We had a really good run when Ollie took over from Mourinho. He got the contract at the end of March and we fell apart in April and May. So the cracks were wide open that in the summer he could have gone, you know what, thanks Phelan, thanks Carrick, I really like you. You can come round for dinner. But look, we had a good run. You were a massive part of me getting this job. But look at the last few weeks. The cracks have shown and I need to get better people in. And he's not done it. And ultimately, you live by the sword, you die by the sword. And I do think that the criticism of Carrick and McKenna that we're getting this morning ultimately sits at the floor of the manager. Because he is the man in charge. Now, look, the reality is I don't think he is the man in charge. I really don't. From what I've heard, and many people will have heard this as well, that's a management team. You see it on the touchline anyway, even if you're not a Dig Deep fan. Even if you just watch the games and you maybe dip into the few United stands or whatever like that, or you read a few papers. The reality is, look at them on the side. They're always there in it's like it's like some sort of forum. They're having a little chat about everything. You don't really see many other managers doing that, but that's because they are a team. And look, Mike Phelan, he's very involved because he doesn't even take training, but he's the assistant manager. He's just been given another 3 years. He doesn't take training. So that is a hint in itself. Well, if Phelan's not taking training and he's not the manager, what is he? Well, he is the bloody manager, isn't he? I would say, I don't think Ollie's actually that much in charge as anybody thinks. Well, I know he's not. There's a lot of deliberation, and Phelan is very, very powerful in that scenario. And Carrick and McKenna are as well. And that's why Ollie doesn't. Ultimately, I don't think Ollie has the power to sack them because he'd get exposed. Because I think his success and failures are their success and failures, if that makes sense. Sort of like if I go to work this morning and I work at a car wash. I don't know why I've come up with car wash. And I get a reputation for being the best damn car wash in the area, right? But when I wash a car, I only do the back end. Somebody else does the front end and someone does the interior. We're talking about washing and cleaning cars here. I know we've wandered around a few analogies today. Don't get that word wrong with the back end. Analogies. Anyway, so I get this reputation of Goldbridge Car Wash. It's the best car wash in town. I get a bit, the standards start to drop. So I sack the interior guy and I sack the guy who cleans it at the front. Well, people are queuing up to come in. And I'm like, well, I'm clueless. I only know how to do the back. I can't do the interior and I can't do the front. So I need to employ other people. This is the problem Ollie's got. His success is his team. And to break that team up leaves him exposed. And I don't think Ollie's got the confidence to go and get or allow people to. I think Ollie is very comfortable. It's like a comfortable pair of slippers. He wants to be successful, but he's a contradiction to himself because he wants to be successful, but he wants to do it with people who are his mates who he knows aren't good enough. If he really had the best interests of himself and Manchester United at heart, he would have the confidence to remove the people who aren't good enough and bring external candidates in who are. But of course, by doing that, you basically expose yourself because you could leave yourself wide open to these people who come in externally and go, well, you don't know what you're doing. So ultimately, we're in this situation at United, and that's what this story is all about this morning, about the players, not being happy with the coaching. You get Ole Gunnar Solskjaer coming out on Friday in his press conference saying, look, nobody wants to win more than me. I understand the United way. I want us to win. But also, ultimately, you scratch the surface of that and you expose the lie. Because if you do want to be the best at something, if you want to learn to run a marathon, do you run around the block once a day, 5 minutes at a jogging pace? and expect to run a marathon? Well, I'm trying every day. I'm building up it. Or do you start pushing yourself and start running 5 kilometres every day till it's 10 kilometres? And I think at United, we're running round the block in our slippers because it's comfy with our mates holding hands. That's what we're doing. Because Ollie is trying to do something. He's making his job harder because he doesn't have the confidence to back himself. He's trying to win league titles with coaches who ultimately aren't good enough because they're his mates and it's comfortable. When the reality is, if he really wants to win trophies and be the man, he should be the man. He should be the manager. He should remove people who aren't good enough and bring people who are. And if he sinks, well, at least you've got the best interests of yourself and the club at heart. At the moment, I feel that he wants to win things, but he's not doing it in a true and honest, confident way because he's trying to do it with people who are inexperienced. And it goes back to, again, doesn't it? You know, we're employing people who are telling us they can do the job, but they've read about it in a book. They haven't got the experience. My hope is that, you know, every passing game is more experience for them and they get better and better. But we're learning on the job, FC. That's what we are. We're learning on the job, FC. And in that Athletic article, they did reference you, the fans, and called you trolls and said there's trolls on social media who call Ollie a PE teacher. Well, how can you call people trolls for calling a manager a PE teacher when in the same article you're saying that the players don't think the coaching's good enough? You know, the fact is the coaching is being scrutinised. I don't like the term PE teacher. I don't like Ollie the Wally. I don't like it. I think it's, you know, it is offensive. But the reality is these things are being spoken about widely, and I applaud that because ultimately it's not good enough. It's not good enough. And at this moment in time, it's not good enough. I hope it can become good enough, but it's not good enough. And we'll talk this afternoon at 2 o'clock about what the Manchester Evening News has said and a few other things I've heard about what United's plan is. But ultimately, it comes from the top again and all the way down. Too many people in that football club are about maintaining the status quo, maintaining the mates race. Too many people in that football club talk about wanting the best for United, but then surround themselves in a security bubble wrap. You know, winning is about taking risks. Winning is about learning. Winning is about challenging yourselves. I don't think we're challenging ourselves by having our mates in the job who we know aren't good enough. And that's from the top to the bottom. True leadership isn't in that team, and it's very obviously coming from the players now. We don't have time for coaches with potential. We need to win now. Ronaldo only has a couple of years. Daniel Kirk, at a club like Manchester United, you should not be learning on the job. Manager of any top club should generally assess when they win the game by 1 goal difference. Did Ollie learn anything from last season? The word fine margin shouldn't be in the dictionary of any top club. We're mates rates FC, and I don't think that's offensive to say it. I think we're mates rates FC. And I think one of two things are going to happen. It's either going to continue like this, or these people are going to, you know, learn on the job and actually get better. Ollie lied to Donny Marks, says Mikael Roach. I don't know where this is coming from, but I'll look into that maybe for the 2 o'clock show. But we've got a big show coming up at 2 o'clock, so make sure you tune in for that. Anyway, look, I'm off to get a haircut. Thanks everyone for watching. So make sure you smash a like on the video, subscribe. I think ultimately this is good news. This is coming out. I think the more scrutiny, the more pressure, the more hopefully they'll look at it and make changes. I don't think we're going to see changes to the coaching staff, but they might change how they coach. They might try and get us to play a better brand of football, but some people would say they're not good enough. Thanks everyone for watching. I'll speak to you at 2. Big show coming up at 2. Thank you very much. The Big Show.